the deadliest infectious disease in human history, just had its biggest U.S. outbreak in 50 years. The Black Death is still killing people in Arizona. A Victorian childhood illness mutated into something worse. These aren't historical footnotes. They're happening right now. Here are 8 ancient diseases making a terrifying comeback. Number 1, tuberculosis. TB has killed more humans than any other disease in history. More than plague, more than smallpox, more than malaria. And in January 2024, it erupted in Kansas City, Kansas. By the time health officials contained it nearly 2 years later, 67 people had developed active TB. 79 more tested positive for latent infection. 2 people died. Dr. David Dowdy, an epidemiology professor at Johns Hopkins, called it one of the largest outbreaks we've seen in the country in 30, 40, 50 years. And here's the thing. Nobody knows where it came from. The origin is still a mystery. COVID played a role, though. While everyone was focused on the pandemic, TB screening dropped. Cases increased globally by 4.6% from 2020 to 2023, reversing decades of decline. In the U.S. alone, cases rose more than 15% from 2022 to 2023. The disease that was supposed to be behind us is suddenly in front of us again. Number 2, the Black Death. Yes, that Black Death. The one that killed 50 million people in medieval Europe. The one with the creepy plague doctor masks. It's still here, in the United States, right now. Every year, an average of 7 Americans contract plague, most of them in northern New Mexico, Arizona, and southern Colorado. From 1970 to 2020, New Mexico alone had 253 cases. That's nearly half of all U.S. plague cases. In July 2025, someone walked into Flagstaff Medical Center with severe symptoms. They tested positive for Yersinia pestis, the plague bacteria. They died the same day. First pneumonic plague death in Arizona since 2007. And that's not even the only 2025 case. A New Mexico man got it while camping. A California resident contracted it after a trip to Lake Tahoe, the Black Death. From a camping trip, health officials trace some cases to prairie dog die-offs, the same fleas that spread. Plague to medieval villagers are still doing their job, just on American rodents now. Your hiking trip through the Southwest could give you something straight out of the 14th century. Number 3, Scarlet Fever. This one sounds like it belongs in a Charles Dickens novel, and for decades, it basically did. By the 1940s, scarlet fever was considered nearly eradicated. Then something happened. In 2014, cases in England tripled. By 2016, there were 19,206 cases, the highest number since 1967. Nearly 50 years of progress gone. Scientists at Imperial College London figured out why. A new strain emerged. They called it M1UK, and this strain produces more toxin than its predecessors. More toxin means more severe infections, more hospitalizations. The 2022 to 2023 winter brought another surge. Household contacts faced 12 times the normal risk of developing invasive group A strep within 60 days. Infants and people over 75 were hit hardest. The reason for the original resurgence? Scientists still don't know. A Victorian disease just evolved, and we're not entirely sure why. Number 4, cholera. Cholera kills fast, faster than almost any other disease. If you get it and can't reach treatment, you can be dead within hours. Your body loses up to 20 liters of fluid through diarrhea in a single day. In 2024, it had its deadliest year in a decade across southern and eastern Africa. More than 175,000 cases. 2,700 deaths. But here's what's worse. 1/4 of those deaths happened outside health facilities. People couldn't reach help in time. From 2014 to 2024, cholera cases in Africa surged 141%. Deaths increased 151%. Countries that hadn't seen cholera in years, like Chad and Comoros, suddenly had outbreaks. Comoros hadn't reported a single case in 15 years. Climate change is driving it. Droughts and extreme floods in places like Sudan and Ethiopia force communities to drink from unsafe water sources. The medieval disease that spread through contaminated water. is spreading through contaminated water again, just with modern causes. If you're finding this interesting, consider subscribing. I drop videos like this regularly. Anyway, back to it. Number 5, syphilis. Syphilis was supposed to be a footnote, a disease from Shakespeare's time. In 2000, the U.S. rate was 2.1 cases per 100,000 people. It was on track for elimination. Then the trend reversed, hard. Today, nearly 4,000 newborns per year are born with syphilis in the United States. That's up almost 700% since 2015, when there were just 495 cases, 12 consecutive years of increases. In 2024, 6 infants died from congenital syphilis in counties outside New York City alone. The disease is hitting American Indian and Alaska Native communities hardest, 89.5 cases per 100,000. That's nearly 5 times the national average. Their rates increased 278% between 2018 and 2024. There's some good news. Primary and secondary syphilis, the most infectious stages, declined 22% in 2024. At-home testing and better treatments are helping, but the newborn numbers keep climbing. A Renaissance-era disease is still finding its way to American babies. Number 6, gout. This one sounds almost funny. Gout, the disease of kings. Henry VIII had it. So did Benjamin Franklin. It was associated with rich people eating too much meat and drinking too much wine. But here's the thing about modern life. Everyone eats like a medieval king now. Ultra-processed food makes up 58% of American calories. High fructose corn syrup is in everything. And gout rates are exploding. The incidence has increased 63.4% over the last 20 years. About 3.9% of Americans, roughly 8 million people, now have it. Having a BMI over 30 more than doubles your risk. U.S. obesity rates doubled from 18.7% in 1990 to 36.7% in 2016. Gout followed right behind. The introduction of high fructose corn syrup into soft drinks coincided with the steepest increase in gout prevalence ever recorded. The disease of kings is now the disease of anyone who orders a large soda with their value meal. Your medieval ancestors would be proud or horrified. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this, subscribing really helps out. Now, where were we? Number 7, whooping cough. Whooping cough got its name for a reason. When you have it, you cough so hard, you make a whooping sound trying to breathe. You cough until you vomit, until you turn blue. It's called the 100-day cough because that's how long the symptoms can last. In 2021, during COVID, cases hit a low of 2,116. By 2024, there were 35,493 cases. That's an increase of over 1,500%, the highest number in over a decade. At least 6 children have died since September 2024, 2 in Louisiana, 1 in South Dakota, 3 in Kentucky, 1 Kentucky. Death was an unvaccinated infant, the 3rd child death in that state in 2025. Oregon had its highest case count since 1950. Florida cases doubled in 2025 compared to 2024. Michigan went from 110 cases in 2023 to 2,000. 81 in 2024, an 1,800% increase. What's driving it? Falling vaccination rates. In 2019, 95% of kindergartners were vaccinated against pertussis. In 2024, it was less than 93%. In Oregon, 1 in 5 2-year-olds hasn't completed their vaccine series. Texas made it easier to skip vaccines entirely in 2024 with downloadable exemption forms. The vaccine itself is also weaker now. It was reformulated in the 1990s to reduce side effects, less severe reactions, but also less effectiveness. A Victorian child killer is back because we made it easier to skip protection. Number 8, leprosy. This is the one you're not expecting. Leprosy. Hansen's disease, the biblical affliction that made people outcasts for millennia. In 2025, Florida reported 31 cases through October. That's up 94% from the same period in 2024. Cases nearly doubled in 1 year. Volusia County alone had 8 cases. Brevard County had 6. 23 of those cases were acquired right there in Florida, not from international travel. Central Florida is becoming a leprosy hotspot. But here's the really wild part. Armadillos. 9 banded armadillos are the only known animal reservoir of leprosy that threatens humans. They carry the bacteria. They live in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, and other southern states. Their habitat overlaps almost perfectly with the U.S. leprosy map. About a third of recent U.S. cases appear to have been locally acquired. No one's quite sure how transmission is happening, but the armadillo connection is hard to ignore. The good news is that treatment is extremely effective. Patients become non-infectious after just a few doses of antibiotics. And 95% of humans are naturally immune anyway. But still, a biblical disease, spreading in Florida, possibly from armadillos. Some things you just don't expect in the 21st century. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. See you.